Good afternoon and welcome to Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan. Remember, this is the program for book lovers, literary enthusiasts and writers. Let's hang out again today as we appreciate the beauty of books. I am Michael Olatunbosun. Today we have a play on the table. It's a 4-act play titled Museum of Dreams, written by Olatunde Ojerinde and published in 2020 by Craft Griots, Ibadan. The author of the play, Olatunde Ojerinde, holds a bachelor's degree in literature in English from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, and a Master of Arts in English Language from University of Lagos. The play, Museum of Dreams, is his first published work. In the opening scene of the play, the CEO of Ole Airlines is in conversation with Zug, a worker in the airline. He has an assignment for Zug, but he begins by asking Zug his vision for himself and the company. CEO informs Zug that the great future he envisages may be impossible if the company crumbles in a few years, owing chiefly to the fact that Ole Airlines has been surviving solely on the patronage of strong people in government. And this is about to end. The airline has been helping the political class to preserve their loot, and a change in government is imminent, and their patrons would not be able to sustain the flow of cash out of power. He wants Zug to therefore go into the civil service, from where he will be working for the interest of the airline. In the play, we also witness the meeting of the Association of the Lord's Army Professionals as they discuss how to salvage a nation and bequeath goodness to the young ones. But they descend into the very hypocrisy they condemn in the people of their nation. They claim to be religiously purer than the rest. They claim to be better and transcend religious and ethnic biases, but they lapse into deeper ethno-religious biases. They discuss a vacancy that needs to be filled in a department in the university, but they want it to go to someone of their religion, even though there is someone who is eminently qualified. However, one of them, Dr. Simoron, seems to not be pleased that intellectual prowess is to be sacrificed on the ground of religious consideration. You are still listening to Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan, and the book on the table is a play titled Museum of Dreams, written by Olatunde Ojerinde. In this work, set in a country called Nigeria, we have before us groups of people play out the ethno-religious cards, always wanting for themselves and their groups a bigger slice of national appointments and national resources. The elite in the play also struggle for the sustainability of their class at the expense of the masses. In this play, we also encounter the Northern Elders Forum as they strategize on how to get more of the national cake to their own side of the nation. They lament the disproportionate sharing of national appointments at their own expense and in favor of the South despite their size and population. In the play, Museum of Dreams, protesters besieged the Secretariat of the Central Civil Service Commission to protest the imbalance in geographical spread of appointments in the country Nigeria. In a rather nonchalant manner, the director of the commission confesses to Udu that he has tampered with the list of appointees. Violence breaks out, property and vehicles are destroyed, and the director is unmoved. He says the protesters are only destroying government property and not his own things, and that they will be replaced by government. He even gleefully announces to Udu that this protest and destruction of property is an opportunity for him to get his old official car replaced. The police arrive to quell the violence, shots are fired, and some protesters are arrested. A press conference is organized and a series of lies are presented by the director and the police inspector. After the conference, white envelopes are distributed to journalists. Of course, later in the play, someone refers to the white envelopes as, quote, symbol of peace in return for lofty headlines, end of quote. But listen to how the director presents this matter in the play, Museum of Dreams. The director is talking here. Facing the audience, gentlemen of the press, what we witnessed few minutes ago is a reflection of the underlying challenges in our society. It is beyond us to explain what the intent was. I'm totally lost as to why miscreants would invade and destroy a public office like this. This is not a political party's office but a service commission. We are, however, grateful for the quick response of the police who ensured that no life was lost. He looks up from the paper he is reading from, then yields the floor to the inspector of police. Inspector says, It is a most unfortunate event that just ended. We had a distress call and we responded effectively to quell the violence. We have made few arrests and investigation will be concluded as soon as possible. Let me assure you of our commitment to maintain law and order in our society. And whosoever is found wanting in this or any act of lawlessness will be duly prosecuted. Director speaks now, triumphantly as he ends the briefing. Gentlemen of the press, I appreciate your coming and I believe you will use the media to vigorously support the campaign against this kind of violent conduct in our society. I will leave the rest for the scene to tell while we wait the outcome of police investigation. Okay, Director, do you know why the envelopes are white and not brown? Udu looks up at him surprisingly. Director continues. It is because our pressmen are peaceful partners in the business of nation building. With that symbol of peace on their palm, they are like firefighters. They know how to quench troublesome inferno, and we need to change the narrative of a brown envelope. It embarrasses these noble men. Udu says, I need to be here to learn how to manage a country. Director speaks. You cannot get that from any book. Yet, those guys can stoke a dying ember till it becomes a wild inferno no government can fight. Lights out. In this play, Museum of Dreams, the playwright employs the title as a metaphor for a nation whose citizens perpetually dream of values and greatness. But where these ideals are confined to a show glass only to be spoken about but not apprehended. This is seen in the life of a first-class graduate, Simi, who, even with a first-class and lofty dreams, can only secure a volunteer internship status in a government ministry. But an unqualified person would get a job simply on the basis of associations and ethnic or religious considerations. You are still listening to Book Splash, and we are discussing the play Museum of Dreams, written by Olatunde Ojerinde. In this play, the playwright plays on the imagery of victimhood of citizens. In the work, we read about the reflection of Zug in this conversation with Simi. They strike a conversation and both lament the scourge of injustice and how the system victimizes those who speak the truth. Listen to this dialogue between Simi and Zug. Zug, they both laugh. Well, it's simply a reflection of what we are. Cheating is a culture in our world. Speaking against that is a crime. Aiming to be different is the hardest option, a long-term commitment to a sickening oblivion. One marvels at how your boss raped the truth about the cause of the protest, coupled with how he buried it in white envelopes of peace. There's always a valid reason to cheat others. There's always a good ground to be fouler than fairer. There's always a common sense to do the wrong thing. Have you ever been cheated? None that I am aware of. Have you ever been a victim of a victim before? Do victims beget victims? Yes, as in, have you benefited from a grossly unfair situation before? I don't think so. Have you always lived in this country? Yes. So if so, you are a human with an aura of an alien. Are you reading from the sky or in trance? If you realize you are a victim of another victim, what would you do? I have not thought of that really. I had something else to lead my mind off while coming here. I came here for a reason too. We are too displeased with existence to seek pleasure on a day like this. You'd wish I'm a lover of any philosopher. I'm not one either, not a lover of any. My name is Zugma Idigo, Zug for comfort. I like to be ahead of the traffic. I need the night to steal me from here. I am Simile Odudu. Still in this play, Museum of Dreams, everyone laments the sorry state of the nation. Everyone complains about the corrupt and skewed system, and nobody accepts that they have played some part in making it so. Ultimately, everyone talks, but nobody acts to right the wrongs. In this play, we read about how the political elite and their cohorts in the private sector perceive the government and the nation. We also read about their perception of the poor masses. Listen to this. Chief Ole here speaking. All you have to do as a poor person is to be poor. Complain. Hail your oppressors and still complain without having to do a thing. At the height of your poor age, you kill yourself with your own hands or help others to die early and protect the rich by killing the poor. Barau, your jokes are never cheap. Ole, better don't quote poo, even without the R in it. Chief Ole, Bara, what is the direction of this government in its twilight and what's the plan? Barau, Chief, the direction of the government is not important. Ours is an Abiku nation. It dies, it lives, but it never perishes. It gives everyone a taste of its presence in bitter pills, but of certainty, our nation will remain. In pain or in bliss, our people flourish still. That is the insignia of our people. They always have reasons to hope for something, and it is because most of them are poor. They don't have to do a thing beyond complaining. So, let us stick to our plan. The climax of the play is the point at which the young ones realize that their country needs redirection. They realize that there must be a departure from ethnic and tribal leanings, among others. In this conversation, playwright Olatunde Ojerinde talks to me about why he wrote the play. He also insists that the youth in this country have to talk back before they take back their country. Tell me, what occasioned your play, Museum of Dreams?
The idea of this play came when I was in my faculty when I was doing my master's, and I was opportune to listen to a conversation between two lecturers, one professor and another person who is just a young lecturer. He just bagged his PhD. So the professor was talking to him, and I was scared the kind of conversation they were having. So I asked myself, are we going to continue this way in this society? And we think one way or the other, we are going to make a headway, because the ills of the society, the things that are wrong with us, are still there. And we keep doing the same thing repeatedly. And somehow, some of us sit down and we are expecting, or we are praying, as we like to do, for a certain change. Then one wonders, how will that change come if we continue to do the same thing that we have been doing? The core theme of the play is around the disposition of the society towards basic things. And I mean basic things that should ordinarily be ordinary in some clime. But our judgment, the value, sometimes how the things that are driving our intention when we do things. Of course, chief among them in Nigeria's situation is our religion and ethnicity. These two things, the extent to which they drive us when we want to do something, or we want to act, when we want to take decision, whether it's a personal decision or it's a decision that is supposed to affect the entire society. What are the interests? What are the things that we consider? Now, every time we always talk about the dream or the kind of society we love to have, but it's not just today that we begin to dream of a certain kind of society. It has always been there. Some people have dreams. They had intentions, they had visions for what Nigeria should be. But what has happened to those dreams?
So that's why you chose the title, A Museum of Dreams.
Yes, I try to look back and I felt those dreams are existing. They are not dead. But I think what the society has done is that we have frozen those dreams. Yes, we took life out of them without disposing them.
That is why you have used that metaphor. It looks to me like a metaphor that makes reference to the fact that we have confined our ideals and dreams to history. We just allow them to be there, and we continue to dream our dreams at a distance.
To an extent, if we say that we confine those dreams to history, it may be correct to an extent. But the idea of the museum is this. Let us take a picture, a mental picture of a museum. Of course, we don't keep ordinary things inside a museum.
Yes.
Things that we assume to be of values, whether scientific values, artistic values, or historical values. Then we keep them somewhere for a certain purpose. Major out of those purposes is what I call occasional display.
Wow.
To show to the public. So the public have access to the museum to see things that ordinarily they will not see everywhere. But those things that are kept in the museum are not of any active use in the society. That is why they are kept there in the first place.
Wow.
So nobody is disputing that they have values, they are dreams, valuable dreams, if I call it that, but we keep them somewhere. We don't make use of them, and we don't allow them to affect what we do. And every time we keep saying, yes, we keep dreaming, but what do we do with those dreams?
That's a very pertinent question. And that is what gave rise to this book or this play.
Yeah.
In the opening act of your play, I've read about these two people conversing, and the CEO of an airline in a country called Nigeria, and a certain member of staff who is called Zug, right?
Yes.
Before I go to their conversation, why did you choose the country Nigeria? Because for me, the theme and every other thing that has gone down in your play points to a country called Nigeria.
Yes, it's just a way to situate the beauty of the play, and as well to allow readers an opportunity for just a little kind of mental exercise. It's a straightforward thing. Everybody knows. If you read this, you all know that, okay, this is something that is verifiable in our context. So there is it's not going to be a rocket science to decipher that, okay, this is Nigeria. But just given the name of the setting, the place as Nigeria, it's just to add to the beauty of the play, if I may put it that way.
So your book discusses social ills, throws up the question of corruption, even in high places, ethnic and religious bigotry, like you talked about, and nepotism, and so on and so forth. For instance, in this act I was making reference to, CEO is saying here, this company is sustained only by my sphere of influence in government, not any profit. Our system can barely sustain this kind of business. This sphere of influence is made of faceless individuals. They are friends and ghost business partners who are in the business of government. So when government ventures yield humongous profits, they cannot be safely pocketed by them. They bring it here for preservation. Between me and them, it is a symbiotic relation. Their profit preserves my business, and my business preserves their loots. So you see that for the elite, it's a question of cooperative stealing and cooperative, drying up of the resources of the country. And the people down there seem to have so much sympathy for even this class. And they think that this class is doing so much to keep this country afloat. But it is in their own interest.
Yes, that has always been our situation. Let me just give an instance. If we look at the onset of the present administration in the country, when the anti-corruption crusade was probably at its highest hype, you want to seek a connection between the fight against corruption, the seizing or confiscation of certain individuals' property, and connect that to certain businesses and how those businesses were collapsing. Then it comes to the basic thing. The fact is that people are in government, and it becomes very easy for them to have access to public fund. Now, when they steal this fund, what do they do with it? In most cases, those funds travel out of this country. But the alternative for them is to have a lot of faceless business entities without substance. You want to imagine when you begin to look at how certain funds are being distributed. You just find one, what I call some companies. It's just so consult. They are not doing anything. You cannot trace the office. You cannot trace anything. But the worth of that so-called business in bank, that is where you find out exactly what is happening.
So they are just helping
the
corrupt people to keep their liquidity.
The public servant, if I call them that, and the private sector are just in a kind of unholy alliance against the people of this country. So it is simple. You set up your business, it's just there. You are not making profit, nobody cares. So when I have my loot, I will bring it to your so-called business. You don't care because it is not money that you work for. It is not a situation where we are, the stakeholders are trying to debate how the company is going to make business, how it's going to make profit. No, it's just a matter of, I just need the money to be safe or safely kept. And if I can't do that in the bank because there are so many regulations as to what an individual can keep or how much it can be transacted by an individual. So it's easy just to have these companies that just keep putting the money there. Just continue to recycle the money. And it's safe is there. And for as long as you have friends in government, the life cycle of your business is assured. But when you cut off the public fund, then you find out that some private businesses
will just collapse.
Museum
of Dreams is the title of the play, and the playwright is Olatunde Ojerinde. In your work, one of the characters in one exchange here, he asked the question, why are we always throwing up our differences? Why not respect our diversity and use it to, really forge a way forward? So in this play, you have a group of people fighting for, their own people and still claiming that they are different from those other ones. But then they are also falling into the trap of, bigotry, ethnic bigotry, that they are claiming they are purer, and they are not doing. The other group is also saying appointments are imbalanced, tilted in favor of these other people. You have given us a perfect picture of Nigeria. But the question for me is, there's always somebody in each of these groups who is saying, no, we cannot sacrifice merit on the altar of the ethnicity or religion. No, we cannot do this. It looks like the voices of those people who want Nigeria to be better, or your country in this play to be better, are in the minority. Is there hope that this kind of country can survive?
Yes, in fact, those voices in this play now, Dr. Zimoran and Harry on the other side, those are what we want to see as green light. And those are the kind of voices that give us hope. That the society is bad, there's no problem about that. Where we have problem is if we don't decide to actually make a change. Now, for every group, there is an interest. And the idea is always that, we need to protect our people. We need to protect our own. But when we set up our affairs in such polar manner, the others, this is us, that's the other. So while we try to do the same thing for our people in the name of protecting them, naturally, the other people should also be doing the same. And this becomes just a cycle. So when I'm from the north, for instance, and I'm in a position, I try to favor those from my region. Tomorrow we come, someone from the other side is there. He's also trying to do the same. Then it means we continue the cycle.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. However, where the message is for the youth, let us assume that the old generations are used to this. They have been doing this. They have done it. It has become a part of them. But there has to be a breaker. We have to put an end to it. That is when we need to start reconstructing the narrative of our society.
This is your first published work. When did you discover that you could write?
Writing is so natural to me. Right from secondary school, I've been writing, but not at a level that one would think I want to make it formal or published. So I write a lot. Even in school, I won the best poet in my undergraduate days. Yes, I won the best writer in the Department of English Language at Olatunbosun University. So I write a lot. I write poems. I display all over everywhere in school. But at some point, I just felt, how can I function in this society in a way that we affect the society as a whole? And there is no overemphasizing the point that the power of books, the power of education, the window to nurture the minds of the younger generation, it's something that one should take seriously. So I felt, okay, it's going to be a nice one if I begin to push the creativity into a circle that will have a bigger impact in the society.
Who are your influences in the writing space?
I have a bit of bias for showing cast.
Okay.
No. Of course, he's one of the 4 playwrights in Africa. And of course, as a student of literature, you couldn't have escaped studying his works. Then you want to imagine the messages in the work and the metaphor, the language. There's no question in the talent and the industrious mind of Soyinka. But beyond that, for me, Oshofiso is another person that cherish his play. The simplicity of the message is always there. The free flow of the lines, and you read his text, and the message comes to you naturally, and it's also easier to relate and get along with the message.
So when you have a combination of Oshofishan and Wole Soyinka, what you have is a piece like this, Museum of Dreams. I observed that you, at the beginning of almost all of your acts in this play, you have poems, and then you have the play itself. Why did you choose this format?
The poems have their own their theme, and in most cases, they introduce the subject matter of the act that they precede. And why I included the poems is just to have a bit of a unique style. Yes, why we have those that we like their style, but the core of aesthetics, or there's nothing about being artistic if you are not able to imprint your own style in what you do.
Okay.
So basically, I take that for my own style. I like poetry. I write poems a lot. So I felt, okay, let me find a way to just merge the two together and see if it's going to flow. And from what I've seen and the comment I've got, the two flowed.
Let's go back to reconstructing the narratives. What exactly do you want, particularly for the young people in the country?
The idea is, if there's a system in place and we need to change the system, we must be systematic. At the same time, we must be realistic. So I am trying to look at this from an angle that is going to come in phases. The Yoruba will say that, so what I'm saying is that we have to learn to approach how we tell the narrative first. What I call talk back before we take back. Now, we want the society to be better. We want to live in a saner climate. We want to function in a space that will give value to our existence. Now, do we want to just take everything back from the whole generation without being violent? Violence is not going to achieve anything for us in the first place. We must take that off our minds. But what do? Let us begin to talk back. When the old generation say this is how we have been doing it, but we see that we have not been getting the result. Now, let us begin to tell them we cannot continue to do it this way. As young people, let us begin to tell people that no, we do not need to follow this path before we can achieve what we can achieve. Because for every young person out there hustling and struggling through the existing system, the potential is there. But if we are able to reconstruct our narrative such that we will dedicate our individual potential towards that ideal that we want, a unified country that is not segmented based on unit that are caustic to our basic existence. In that way, we will begin to push back and we will begin to reduce those that we call majority. Yes, the green light, the good voices are in their minority, but let us give them the spread that they need. Let us contribute our own voices to the voices of those that are good and begin to reduce the space for the majority that are not the kind of people or the kind of system that we want to have.
Olatunde Ojerinde, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Michael.
That was my conversation with Olatunde Ojerinde, author of the play Museum of Dreams. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please join me for another time on Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5, 2:30 p.m. next Saturday. And thanks for listening. And thanks to my sound manager, Victor Daudu. In case you have a comment or query, please send me a message on 0805 699 8676 or email olatunbosun@splashfm1055.com. You can follow me on Twitter @MikeTunbosun. Please make the best use of this season by reading a book. I am Michael Olatunbosun. Enjoy the weekend.